Hello, my dear listeners. I hope you're all doing amazing. So tell me, have you ever noticed something strange? When someone helps us once, we genuinely appreciate it. When they help us twice, we feel grateful. But if they keep helping us every single time, slowly, without even realizing it, we stop appreciating it. We begin expecting it. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes the very thing people admire about you becomes the very thing they take for granted. And honestly, I didn't understand this for a long time. Growing up, many of us were taught the same lessons: always be polite, respect everyone, help whenever you can, don't hurt people's feelings. Beautiful values. And I still believe they are beautiful. But nobody teaches us where kindness should end and where boundaries should begin. Today's story is about a woman named Mira. And while listening to her story, you might find yourself smiling at some moments because maybe, just maybe, you'll see a little bit of yourself in her. Mira was the kind of person everyone liked, not because she was loud, not because she tried to impress people. She was simply nice, very nice. If someone forgot their lunch at work, Mira shared hers. If a neighbor needed help, they called Mira. If relatives were organizing a family function, they automatically included Mira in the planning because she was dependable. Now, being dependable sounds like a wonderful quality. And honestly, it is, until people stop seeing it as kindness and start seeing it as your duty. Mira worked in a private company from Monday to Friday. Her days were already busy: office work, household responsibilities, looking after her parents, keeping in touch with relatives, trying to make time for herself. Like most adults, she was juggling many things. One Monday morning, she reached the office a little early. She had finally decided that she would finish an important report before everyone arrived. She made herself a cup of tea, opened her laptop, took a deep breath, and thought, today I'll finish this. 5 minutes later, her colleague Ritu walked over. Mira, can you help me for just 5 minutes? Now, honestly, have you ever noticed that 5 minutes almost never means 5 minutes? Mira smiled. Sure. 5 minutes became 30, 30 became 45. By the time she returned to her own work, the office had become busy. Meetings had started, phones were ringing, people were asking questions. Her own report remained unfinished. That evening, while leaving the office, her manager stopped her. Mira, your report is not ready yet. She smiled awkwardly. No, sir, I'll finish it tomorrow. She didn't explain that she had spent almost an hour helping someone else. She simply took the responsibility herself. And honestly, this wasn't the first time. It happened so often that it had become normal. If someone wanted to leave early, they asked Mira to finish their work. If someone forgot an important file, Mira, could you please handle it? If someone didn't understand Excel, ask Mira. And because she hated disappointing people, she almost always said yes. Now let's leave the office for a moment, because things were not very different at home either. One Saturday morning, Mira finally planned a day just for herself. No office, no errands, no responsibilities. She had bought a novel almost 3 months ago. It was still lying on her bedside table with the bookmark stuck on page 12. She smiled to herself. Today, I'm going to finish this book. She made herself ginger tea, opened the curtains, sat comfortably near the window. Before she could read the first page, her phone rang. It was her aunt. Mira beta, are you free today? Now, whenever someone begins a conversation with that question, you already know what's coming next. Her aunt needed help shopping for a family function. It won't take long, beta. Again, those famous words. It won't take long. Mira looked at her book, then at her tea, and then at the clock. She wanted to say, Auntie, can we do it tomorrow? But instead, she heard herself saying, Of course. By the time she came home, it was evening. Her tea had gone cold. The book was still on page 12. She looked at it and smiled sadly. Maybe next weekend. But next weekend never really came. The weeks kept passing, and somehow everyone's priorities became more important than hers. One evening, while having dinner, her younger brother called. Didi, can you book my train tickets? She booked them. An hour later, a cousin called. Can you help me write an email? She helped. Then her neighbor knocked on the door. Can you please collect my parcel tomorrow? Again, yes. Now, here is something interesting. None of these people were bad. Not at all. They simply got used to Mira saying yes. Because human beings adjust very quickly. When someone is always available, we stop checking if they are actually free. One Sunday afternoon, Mira visited her grandmother. Now, her grandmother was a quiet woman. She noticed things most people missed. While making tea, she looked at Mira and asked, "You look tired." Mira laughed. "No, Dadi, I'm fine." Her grandmother smiled. You know, people who are truly fine don't answer that quickly. For a few seconds, Mira didn't know what to say. Then suddenly, everything came out. She talked about work, the constant favors, the family expectations, the guilt she felt whenever she wanted to say no. Her grandmother listened patiently, didn't interrupt, didn't give advice immediately. After Meera finished speaking, her grandmother quietly asked, "Tell me something. When was the last time you did something only because it made you happy?" Meera opened her mouth, then closed it again. She genuinely couldn't remember. Not because life had been difficult, because somewhere along the way she had stopped making space for herself. Her grandmother held her hand and said something very simple: "Kindness is a beautiful thing, but don't give away so much of yourself that nothing is left for you." Then she smiled and added, "You can't pour from an empty cup." That sentence stayed with Meera. The following week, another familiar situation happened. A colleague walked up to her desk. "Meera, can you finish this presentation? I'm leaving early." The old Meera would have smiled immediately, but this time she paused, not because she wanted to be rude, because for the first time she asked herself a question: "Do I really have the time?" The answer was no. She smiled politely. "I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to do it today." Silence. Her colleague looked surprised. "Oh." Then he walked away. And honestly, Meera felt guilty, very guilty. All evening she kept thinking, was I selfish? Did I hurt his feelings? Have you ever felt like that? As if saying no automatically makes you a bad person. The next morning, something unexpected happened. That same colleague walked into the office, smiled, and said, "Don't worry about yesterday, I managed." That's it. The world had not ended. Nobody hated her. Life continued. And slowly, Meera began practicing something she had never practiced before: saying no, politely, respectfully, without long explanations. Not every time, just when she genuinely couldn't do something. She noticed something interesting. The people who truly cared about her understood. They respected her boundaries, but a few others became distant. At first, that made her sad. Then she realized something. Maybe they hadn't valued her. Maybe they had simply valued her availability. And those two things are very different. Months later, her life looked surprisingly different. She still helped people, she still believed in kindness, but now she also protected her own time. She started reading again, going for evening walks, taking Sundays off, drinking her tea while it was still hot. One evening, while sitting on her balcony with a book, her phone rang. It was her cousin. "Can you help me tomorrow?" Mira smiled. "Tomorrow? Yes. Today I'm spending some time with myself." Her cousin laughed. "Good, you deserve it." After the call ended, Mira looked at the sunset, and for the first time in a very long time, she didn't feel guilty. She felt peaceful. You know, my dear listeners, there is a difference between being kind and constantly putting yourself last. Helping others is beautiful, but helping others should not mean forgetting yourself. There is another lovely saying: "Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm." Think about that for a moment. If you are always giving, always adjusting, always saying yes, one day you'll wake up exhausted. Not because people are bad, but because you forgot to protect your own energy. So the next time someone asks you for a favor, pause for a moment, ask yourself, am I saying yes because I truly want to help? Or am I saying yes because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? There's a big difference. Because the price of being nice should never be losing yourself. So tell me honestly, have you ever found it difficult to say no? Have people ever taken your kindness for granted? And what's one boundary you would like to set in your own life? I would love to read your thoughts. Until next time, be kind, be generous, but remember, you deserve the same kindness you are always giving to everyone else. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.